That should be good. Okay, goal of this next fest is at least getting through about 5 games, or about 2 hours worth of games, so we will start with Of the Devil. Rain sizzles of neon above me. The summer shadows created a noted uptick in the flickering of holograms on the street, and a slight blunting of the night's ambience. Emphasis on slight. Lights, cameras, and constant noise. The city's got insomnia, with the uneven heart rate to prove it. There's no escaping the second-hand nervous system of it all, but I'm pretty acclimated. Just a wave of worries cresting on the surface while I hold my breath deep below. Besides, a microdose of nightlife anxiety suits my mood just fine. Because if I'm not careful, this client of mine's gonna die in jail. It's hard to get away with murder these days. People are still presumed innocent, at least on paper, but by the time they're in cuffs, there's hardly any shadows of doubt left. Because this whole world's lit up, mapped out, never unknown, always online. Whether it's incandescent or neon or hollow, whether it's LCD, LED, or just the nearest phone screen, there's a light shining on every last pixel of the map, and someone's always watching. Solitude's a rarity, and anonymity is scarce. Anonymity is scarce. And criminal defense attorneys aren't exactly flush with customers, so you take whatever clients you can get. You don't balk at public defender work, no matter the hour. And should you find yourselves in one of the last dark quiet corners left in the whole world, well, smoke 'em if you got 'em. Not that there's much else I can do until my phone. Oh. This is really slick. Counsel, your public defender contract has been approved. You are expected at the 254th precinct. Present your ID at the door to enter. Arrive at least 15 minutes early. I'll try. Looks like the paperwork came through. It's nearly 3:15 now. 90 minutes since I took the job. Probably makes it about 2 hours since they finally got smart enough to ask for a lawyer. If they're really smart, they'll have used that time to get some rest. Because now that I'm here, things are going to get busy. And he shall appear. This is really slick. Precinct 254. It's a goddamn ghost town. Nothing but a hologram for a welcoming party. I'm here about a homicide. High clearance rates be damned. You'd think they treat it with a little more gravitas. But whatever. If I'm that unimportant, they've got no right to complain if I take my sweet time getting checked in. And I should take my time. Information's like cash in my line of work. You gotta spend it to make it. And if you're flat broke, no one gives a shit what you have to say. So let's see if I can't poke around and shake some change loose. Use mouse to look around for points of interest that you can click on. You'll earn credit for investigating anything and everything you can. Credit is both a measure of your information gathering skills and your own credibility. So don't go broke. This actually rotates around a little. Oh. A data pad? Even when there are more advertisements than articles, they can still be informative. In a flowery roundabout, corporate propaganda sort of way. Choose the proper takeaway after reading and you'll get additional. proper takeaway. Subway fixes Act City to refocus on Canopy. Declaring subway tunnels to be irreparably flooded, city engineers announced this week that all plans to drain and repair the system were being suspended indefinitely. Saltwater damage to sensitive electrical cabling and erosion of key tunnel fixtures were cited as a reason for why 89% of the subway system was evaluated as critically compromised or worse. Civil engineering efforts will be refocused on maintenance and expansion of the hybrid super infrastructure system that weaves together trams, highways, walkways, and skyscrapers into the canopy high above our streets. Reaction City announcements could be characterized as blasé. It's been years since the subway last ran, a decade since they last ran on schedule. Most citizens have long since given up hope on them ever making a comeback. Online chatter barely reacted to the announcement, with the most commenters and voters' attention focused instead on the growing investigations into Councilman Long's campaign finance irregularities. As one of the Canopy's major backers, in City Hall, Long has found himself at odds with a small but vocal group of critics that consider it to be an eyesore and an amplifier of light and noise pollution. And with Long having stepped away from his political duties in order to more fully cooperate with investigators, for the first time in nearly 20 years, the typically rock-steady political foundation of the Canopy was looking uncharacteristically shaky going into this week. But with the subways now officially no longer an option, people and corporations alike have little choice for how they complete their morning commute. However, not all reactions to the news have been negative. At least a few bold individuals see this latest report as vindication and possibly even a rallying cry. Already considered by many to be a rising star in infrastructure solutions abroad, tech startup Subterra made headlines last year with their radical proposal of a system of personal submarine taxi pods that can make use of the flooded subway tunnels. But momentum stalled when their first prototype for the city came in at a disappointing 3,359% over budget. Though one council member was quoted as calling the system mind-bogglingly wasteful and impractical in the extreme, in light of this latest announcement, Subterra has proudly declared their intent to resubmit the proposal package. Across the entire globe, coastal cities like ours have struggled to find civil engineering answers to rising sea levels and subterranean flooding that satisfy financial, practical, and aesthetic concerns. Historically, most scientists have attributed this increase at sea levels to climate change, though there are dissenting voices. Water rises and falls all the time, for reasons we don't fully understand. Are we too? It appears that you have 0 free articles remaining this month. Please verify your account and information and continue reading the story matter. Ugh. Policy of them putting the paywall there. As if I'd reach for my wallet after reading a word like aesthetical. Besides, I got the gist of it. The takeaway is that the city will be focusing its efforts on the canopy. There'll be increased scrutiny surrounding the canopy now that there's no plan B. It's a massive project with a massive budget, lines the pockets of a lot of people, big and small. None of them would appreciate bad press at the moment, not when Councilman Long's already thoroughly chummed the waters. High-traffic hallways, utilitarian furnishing, multiple screen stations. Pragmatic brutalism so textbook it could teach freshman-level architecture. You can almost hear the building drone on and on about concrete and iron and hard right angles. The civil planning equivalents of battle scars. From a fight won so long ago that they're starting to look ridiculous. I'm sure it was all very imposing back when it was built. But walking in here now, the crime rates where they are, feels like a hospice word for heavy-handedness. That's the lineup? An actual police lineup. It's like I walked into a museum. Though museums tend to feel expensive and clean. Dusty, forgotten, probably lots of unpacked boxes. This homicide department's more like an addict. Hard to believe that they were ever so busy that they had witnesses making IDs in the lobby. Then again, it's hard to believe that they were ever doing lineups in the first place. Are you certain? Wasn't it dark? Did you know that? Did you know that during traumatic events, memory formation is blah blah blah? Poking holes in that setup must have been like shooting fish in a barrel, and all during billable hours. But there's no room to sow doubt anymore, not when a modded witness can just submit their testimony as a video recording, assuming their phone didn't automatically file a police report for them. The medium's cracked in a corner. Looks bad, but my phone's made of the same stuff, and I'm rolling the dice every time it falls off the sofa. I could probably null the warranty on one of those things, but alas, news. At least it's not broken. Entirely. Even at this hour, it's still dutifully scrolling through its notifications. Looks like the usual 1-to-1 ratio of public health alerts and inoffensive pop culture trivia you always get served at safe buildings. But there's a few missing persons, too. 1 year of silver plan coverage courtesy of Caduceus? As a reward for any... Silver's no joke. Billy must be getting desperate. Alright. Taking all the scenery and learn as much as I can here. Time to get checked in. I booted up fine. So far, so good. Morgan here for a public defender contract. Could you please provide your name? Great, please stand still for a moment. I want to call Intake Hollows charming, more like harmless. But that's probably what the designers were aiming for. People don't mind a quirk or two in their text so long as it never speaks out of turn. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble placing you. Could you please provide your name and date of birth? So far, so good, was it? Why don't you just scan my ID card? You have to be a world-class airhead to get this question wrong. Oh, this is really slick. 175 CM, date of birth December 26, criminal defense attorney, likes puzzles, smoking, wooden furniture, dislikes commercials, hairdressers, jogging. Talent, can fall asleep in any position. Coffee, decaf, drink, whiskey sour. That's the reading list. December 26th. Good morning, Morgan Counselor. If you're ready to speak to your client, you can proceed to the counseling quarter C3C. Is that what we're calling it now? You mean the interrogation room. I'm sorry to have caused any confusion. My vocabulary is regularly updated to better reflect state standards. Don't sweat it. I can't keep track of every new euphemism either. They could call it involuntary wellness check room if they like. It doesn't change the way it makes the person feel, sitting in a stifled box of one-way panels. Nothing to see but their own reflection dully warped across gunmetal walls. Because of what you read earlier, you've unlocked additional question. Read and examine at every opportunity to build up your knowledge and get the most out of your questioning. Why the disrepair? I know the city's not terribly concerned with the lower wards, but this is a police station. Why is it so goddamn dusty? This facility is currently undergoing renovations. Since when? The 60s? It has been 22 months, huh? Since the timetable was last updated. I really don't see a lot of action around here, do they? This is also very... The pace of the text is, like, very good. Like, it's auto-playing, it's very clearly auto-playing, or at least like up to a certain point. But like the pauses? I'm sorry for any inconvenience you might have encountered. I'm adaptable. What about you? They ever gonna fix that crack? Thank you for asking. It has not interfered with my work. Well, that's all that matters, right? What are you? I'm a smart user interface. Proudly sold by Noble Electronics, thank you for asking. If you're interested, I could send you a link with information about our subscription packages. Should I send you a link with information about our subscription packages? No. Sorry. That was a mean question to ask. That'll be all, thank you. You'll find the counseling quarters past the homicide detective's office, through the door to your right. Thanks. But I think it's just me for now. So you can go on break if you like. Automated dependents do not take breaks. Then what were you doing before I walked in? You'll find the counseling quarters past our homicide detective's office. Through the door to the right. Thank you. Ads don't get breaks, and they don't get my jokes. But it's usually the humorless types that are the most fun to mess with anyway. And it's going bad or something. Voices coming from down the hall. They're yours? Probably. Thank God I stopped for directions. A building this empty, the desk could have just told me to follow the echoes. One voice sounds older, rougher, and decidedly low energy. Shit, you reading about me? While the other rings with youthful indignation. It's not like our job is important or anything. Definitely cops. And at this precinct, at this hour, they might be the only two living, breathing people in the whole complex. Because why else would you bother to print all that out? One document of 100 looks the same on a datapad. Anytime you question a suspect, you need to have a heavy file in hand. Makes them think you know I'm better than the priest, their mother, their big brother. I wasn't gonna say that. So how many of those sheets were blank then? No red carpet tonight, officers. We don't keep many extra hands around these hours. Probably faster to let desk handle intake anyway. But mostly cheap. You're the lawyer? I am. Morgan Esquire, pleased to meet you. Same here, counselor. Quasim, London? And a ball of sunshine here is partner Farrah Ray's. Ball of sunshine? If you're kept waiting, chatter between the departments has been hectic all night. It's no trouble. Gave me time to enjoy my cigarette. Cigarette? Like tobacco? What are you, 80? She can't be more than a few years younger than me. And it looks like the night we're just your humble guides to the illustrious homicide department. Apologies in advance for any cobwebs. Pretty sure I've seen this London character around the courthouse before. He never struck me as more than just some old-timer. But I suppose being an old-timer is an accomplishment in and of itself in his profession. Sunshine is definitely a new face, though. Rigid in her posture and her attitude. 3 in the morning and her shirt still looks ironed. Freshly promoted, maybe. 2 whole detectives working at these hours? Sounds serious. Unless you were just the first to arrive on the scene. No, we're not nearly that timely. Uniforms responded to the emergency calls within a few minutes. Calls, plural. Must have been quite the commotion. Look around. You think we're the first to arrive for anything? Bah. She's not wrong. We were only tapped after circumstances at the scene indicated involvement with an ongoing investigation. Our ongoing investigation? Not very subtle, is she? But I may as well bite at this point. So you suspect that this client of mine is involved in some separate criminal activity? Did they really not? No, I guess they wouldn't put in a public defender's briefing. Consider this a little professional courtesy. A fair warning, yeah? That's the heartbeat killer in that room. We've got the bastard dead to rights. So if you're kind, you'll help him plead it out. And if you're smart, you'll pass the shitstorm on to some other night owl and go back to bed. I'm not feeling particularly kind or smart at the moment. So perhaps in the meantime, you'd be so polite as to fill me in about this heartbreak killer. They cover utilities at the rock you live under? Is that a problem? Is there a problem? You're seriously not familiar with HK. Never heard of him. I've heard enough of him for a lifetime. Names has been plastered all over the city for weeks, their crimes wavering between breaking news and urban legend. Their presumed goals flip-flopping from unadulterated anarchy to unappreciated vigilantism. The street concerns in the media, on the net. Everyone's indulging the exact kind of armchair detective speculation that I can't stand. But right now I need to figure out exactly how much the police do or do not know. And when it comes to cops, I always get better results playing dumb than I do acting smart. I take it he's a repeat offender? Was it the killer part that tipped you off? Was it the killer part that tipped you off? You must have at least heard about his MO. Maybe he's gone crazy with it, along with everyone else. One bullet straight through the heart, body left to lie where it falls. Hence the name Heartbreak. Not exactly creative, but amidst the swirl of every other 100-word article out there, catchiness trumps originality. But you won't read up. What you won't read about online is that all 6 of HK's victims were shot by the same gun, without even needing to reload. What? But... Huh? Horrible to say, I know, but 6 for 6? That's pretty good shooting, isn't it? Hitting the bullseye at the shooting range is good shooting. Doing it 6 times in a row is great. But shooting 6 people with accuracy like that? It's a whole different beast. It takes a certain kind of monster, a real freak. His pulse probably didn't even rise. I see. You almost make him sound like a machine. Is it possible that? No, it's not. There's no such thing as a killer robot. There's no such thing as killer robots, madam. Of course, my mistake. So, all those androids marching in the military, those robots patrolling in police uniforms, those drones dropping firebombs from the sky, I guess they're all firing blanks. Machines can kill, and they have been for decades. But they don't commit murder. Right. Evil like Heartbreak is all organic. That's a pretty terrifying thought. I should really start paying more attention to the news. How I managed to miss 6 murders. Well, you can only blame yourself for missing 5. Pardon? You're still not getting it? HK's 6th victim was found a few hours ago, when we caught the son of a bitch red-handed. So you're convinced that my client is this heartbreak killer and tonight was just his latest crime. That's a serious accusation with very serious consequences. I take it you have some serious evidence to back that up? I was being literal, counselor. Red-handed. When we found your client, he was covered in her blood. Well, that's not good, is it? What you say certainly sounds compelling. Is that lawyer talk for open and shut? But even if that's the case, how does one crime scene make him look good for 6 murders? It's all there in the discovery files and the ARCs, of course. And the ARCs. Join the local net on your phone and we'll turn over everything you need. I'll bet. Thanks for that, detective. I'll be sure to read it over. But if it's all the same, could I ask you some questions while I've got you here? The hell kind of attorney wants to interrogate the detectives? This kind of attorney. You're just that pleasant. Not like we're gonna be punching out anytime soon, right? You mean counseling quarters? We're your disposal counselor. Latest Noble androids receive warm welcome. Bolstered by a strong earnings report and surging sales of the Anima 16, Noble Electronics stock rose a stunning 3% this week to a new record high. While Noble's latest iteration has yet to surpass the share population of its predecessors, an increased profit margin has left Noble's shareholders very enthused. Many investors were skeptical when, at their now infamous 2084 trade convention, Noble announced that the 16th line would be the first generation of androids to feature over 50% organic components. So-called warm androids, which at the time only saw demand in the health, senior, and childcare sectors, were looked down upon as impractical due to increased maintenance costs, cuts, scratches, and bruises, the like. While some critics voiced concerns that fringe religious or traditionalist groups might find warm androids controversial, more business-focused minds feared that Noble was alienating its customers in the industrial and military sectors in order to cater to civilian consumers. Noble was alienating its customers in the industrial and military sectors in order to cater to civilian consumers. Users that viewed their androids from across the room and not from above the factory floor. However, as has been often the case in the last decade, Noble doubters were proven wrong. The Anima 16 is poised to break profitability records, with no signs of slowing down, and many industry analysts predict that this once rare organic androids will completely replace their more robotic predecessors in daily life within the next 3 to 5 years. As described in the earnings report, much of the 16th line success, and indeed the success of Noble androids in general, can be attributed to the remarkable lifelike, personable charm of their products. And by all accounts, that charm can be attributed to the work of Noble's famed lead programmer, Dr. David Asher. Lead programmer is the understatement of the century, said Noble brand ambassador Lucy Dees on stage at their latest Noble Industry Weekend. It's because of his Turing solution that every Noble product, from the sleekest assistants to the most advanced intensive care technicians, are so beloved and trusted by our consumers. While his reputation was on full display at the event, Dr. Asher himself was nowhere to be seen. He's always been reclusive, but he's become a genuine hermit in recent years. Are we really to believe he's still... They're only impractical due to the increased maintenance costs. It's no wonder I can't spit without landing on a piece of noble tech these days. Especially not with the states involved. Don't know if they'll bite when it comes to warm androids, though. For government news, they're just... All androids undergo wear and tear, especially if they're directing traffic or suppressing crowds. So if these warm androids bleed pink all over themselves every time they take a rock to the cheek, it's just an endless stream of bad photo ops waiting to happen. Bare and stark and uninviting, this must be really fast. Keeping a workstation neat and tidy is admirable, but I can't spot a single mode of personalization. Is she so new she hasn't had time to unpack, or is she just really that uptight and boring? Both, maybe. Loose wires, missing panels, an aircon system that probably sweats more than people it's supposed to cool. No room in a budget for making the office not look like shit, huh? I expected to find a lot of belt tightening at Homicide, but I didn't think their operations would be this bare bones. They've got a stunning clearance rate and they've worked fast. Guess the city sees that and just assumes their job is easy. Maybe their job is easy. What with our dear, doting surveillance state system eliminating so much of the footwork. But if your wheels don't squeak, you don't get your palms greased. So Homicide ends up as the only state department with a shrinking budget. A dumping ground for the police force's most unambitious and least popular. Criminal, likes killing, dislikes getting caught. Favorite color, probably red. Zodiac sign, probably not into astrology. Reward, suspended due to influx of false reports. October 19th, 162. Oh, you're small. Weight 63 kilograms. Occupation, homicide detective 3rd class. Dislikes rice. No, likes rice, limes, automated history. You really are boring. Dislikes liars, small plates, cheap people. Enjoys watching product reviews. Bad at games of chance. Red Eye. Osiris Elite 86. So you have an eye. It's just augmented. May 5th, 186, 78 kilograms. Homicide detective 1st class. Likes photography, dive bars, bangs. Dislikes ties, pollen, after hours work messages. Listens to podcasts. Hobby, pencil sketching. Frequently running late. ARCS. Augmented Reality Crime Scene, abbreviated as ARCS, is an investigative tool in which data harvested by sensors warning the first responders is used to reconstruct a digital copy of a pristine crime scene. Oh, thank you for the follow. I really need to figure out why those sound effects aren't playing right. Programmed and distributed by a small number of tech corporations and frequently modified or even personalized by local municipalities, ARC systems are used by every major police force, most insurance investigators, and many law firms. After its introduction in the early 2060s, the technology briefly came under public scrutiny when the independent news organization, United Media Casters, released a series of reports claiming that ARC's data was regularly edited by corrupt officials to erase state secrets. These reports were later found to be fake, and UMC was exposed as a subsidiary of a cell corporation within Lambda Work Solutions, who were marketing a number of alternatives to ARC technology at the time. These reports were later found to be fake, and UMC was exposed as a subsidiary of Cell Corporation within Lambda Work Solutions, who were marketing a number of alternatives to ARC's technology at the time. Board members at Lambda denounced the actions of said Cell and offered assistance to their former competitors in suing ensuing leadership at UMC, but the proceedings and settlements in those lawsuits remain sealed. An automated dependent, abbreviated as AD and referred to as common conversation as AD or ADS. Automated dependent is a catch-all term encompassing robots and intelligent programs, interactive holograms, and androids. Automated dependent. Interesting. ADS are present both digitally and physically in every industry and nation on the planet, assisting in everything from data management to physical labor. In the mid-21st century, new tax classifications were lobbied for to define intelligent systems that were neither salaried employees nor mere equipment because it afforded tax breaks and lighter tariffs. The term became so commonly used that it spread to all branches of the robotics industry, from which point it began to penetrate into everyday speech and pop culture. Some sociologists argue that the term owes its popularity not simply to its brevity and prevalence, but to its ability to add a distinction between the commonplace robots, androids, smart UIs, and the intentionally illegal artificial intelligences. Searching for this term may incur an account flag. Read more about it. Read more about how we cooperate with authorities to combat disinformation here. At least the future doesn't seem that bad. At least if that's one part of it. We shouldn't have cleaned up so much just for little Detective London. Someone really needs to introduce this guy to a filing system, or even just a stapler. Paper documents scattered about lazily alongside actual photographs. Either he's really old-fashioned or he's really paranoid about data leaks. It doesn't look like the paranoid type. Well, orderliness aside, some things are better in paper. I'll give him that. Okay. Nothing else jumps out at me around here. I've got a better idea of who I'm dealing with at least. And I need to check out the crime scene data. Should have been sent a link. It's gonna... I hate these stupid things so much. Am I talking to a person? I'm an automated dependent. As are usually more polite. Our personalities are tailor-suited to our users' preferences. What does that mean? So the state likes you to be a little authoritarian. You need to reply C. C. It's case sensitive. C. Alright, if I project from my phone. Let's see what the police have, and what they think is important. A stand-up mirror, shattered and knocked over. Real glass, no screens or cameras here. It was hit hard enough to come unattached from its arm, while shards of glass were scattered far enough to land on the victim's body. What a mess. Seems like this vase got tossed aside at some point. And yet there's not a scratch on it. Must be pretty damn durable. Isn't art supposed to be delicate? Maybe it's making a statement. Ooh. The murder weapon, a revolver, found right next to the body. 6 empty casings found in each of the 6 chambers, meaning the gun's been fired 6 times. Looks like the crime scene techs practically disassembled the damn thing. But all they found were fingerprints belonging to my client. So he's found by the police with the murder weapon right in front of the body. I don't even know where to start. Highly prejudicial would be an understatement. The victim's body. Cause of death, ballistic trauma. Class 4 blood loss, atrium and aorta. Shot through the heart. Single gunshot wound to the heart. In brief, death was instantaneous. No injuries anywhere else, and no blood or skin under her nails. Blood splatter, forensics, and all the other good stuff tells them that she was shot from there. So the killer was standing in the doorway when they fired. Looks like the apartment was unlocked all night. It's not uncommon for people their age in a neighborhood like this, but no signs of forced entry only hurts my client's case. What about the rest of the room? There's not much else flagged here. Just a lounge chair that got thrown, and whatever that is. Ceramic debris? Flag as irrelevant? That's their technical assessment? Guess even the crime scene techs weren't sure what to make of it. Something in the victim's hand. How the hell did... It's just a pill organizer. Looks like some immune adjusters, mass aids, and tripexaron, a synthetic glucocorticoid. Taken daily reduce rejection symptoms like phantom pain and generalized itch. Rejection symptoms. Wait, so you had a synthetic limb? Or some synthetic heart? The autopsy said her tox screen was clear, but it's not like it matters. She could have swallowed every medicine cabinet in the city and still wouldn't change the cause of death. It's odd, but ultimately irrelevant. Well, I've done more with less before, but not much more. I'm really gonna have to sing for my supper this time. Better get to start. Who the hell's messaging me at this time of night? First person who comes to mind is, I suppose it could be something important. Brat? I couldn't wait till morning. Good news, of course. Got a job for you. I'm already on one. That's a pretty cheery way to tell me you violated parole. Besides, I've been covering my tracks. This is something different. The kind of thing I can't handle with just a keyboard and a phishing scheme. I need you to sue my gym teacher. Not that kind of lawyer. Sorry. At least let me finish. What did they do? Make me run laps? Not illegal. Let me finish! They made me run laps. Even though I said I had a stomach ache. Sad. Gotta be like... youth endangerment? Depraved indifference or some kind of shit. Sounds like you've already got a strong case. Try self-representing this time. What's with the blow-off? Nice phrasing. Oh wow, I'm laughing so hard right now. Is that your mugshot? I wasn't gonna not get a copy of my mugshot and use it as a reaction. Glad you found a use case. But I'm working right now, so... Anything cool? Homicide. Oh, cringe. Wait, what kind of homicide? Is it HBK? It's not the kind of morbid things kids your age talk about. Teens my age. And yeah, we can read. Compared to the corrupt shit in the headlines. Old-fashioned murder like Hardy B's is like... quaint. It's not heartbreak. Why'd you take the job, lol? You see the 98% conviction rate as a challenge or something. You taking up lost cause pro-nose work? It's pro bono. That was autocorrect. You know they give lit homework for a reason, right? This is borderline concerned nagging. Maybe you really are a bleeding heart. Or just a sucker. I'm not a sucker. Nice phrasing. You should go to bed, Fran. Tomorrow's Sunday. I can stay up if I want. Good point. Tomorrow is Sunday. Because today is Saturday. What's with the Carpe Diem shit? That's not what Carpe Diem means. We've got school in like 3 hours. Oh. 6-day school week. Shit. Repeat offenders may be good for business, but that kid's bad for my blood pressure. Important text message I didn't get. Just your typical teenage drama. So then, if you wouldn't mind filling me in on a few details. I'm about to have spent like an hour on this game alone. Checking my phone here, and I have to say, you've done a pretty admirable job keeping the details of HK's crimes a secret. The less reputable sites are doing some real generalistic acrobatics trying to piece together a story. Yeah, the top 11 theories on who hurt HK was a real lady read. It's not just journalists though, all kinds have been emboldened. The freaks that HK's managed to bring out of the woodwork in just a few weeks. Can you blame them though? I mean, he's a genuine serial killer. Repeat offenders in general are an endangered species, but he's gotten away with... Take a look around us, detective. National DNA registry is robust enough that cases never go cold. Cameras on every street, a phone on every citizen. Violent crime at an all-time low and clearance rates at all-time highs. But you're gonna spout some alt-pol bullshit about invasion of privacy? No, I'm not. People are safer now than any other time in history, detectives. So when someone like Heartbreak does come along... London's trying to look like he can laugh it off. The pressure from higher-ups must be reaching its peak. They want, maybe need, to see someone charged, and that makes them predictable. Yeah, well, even if there's nothing standard about HK, Department SOP still dictates we starve the media for case details. That way, when we do feed them, they're grateful for whatever scraps they get. But we can't take all the credits this time around. Homicide's tight-knit and tight-lipped, but it's not like there's much information for us to leak in the first place. And why is that? Because none of the shootings were caught on the opt-in criminal... Wait. Because none of the shootings were caught on the opt-in crime surveillance system. How's that even possible? I know that there's some rough areas in the lower wards, but Optics is watching every other street in this entire city. You're saying you haven't seen this killer on camera once? Do you think we'd have let him kill 6 people if we did? Optics is only what it says in the name. Private surveillance system signing up to feed into the state security network. It's not perfect, just another one of the many public safety tools in our belt. It's not meant to be perfect, it's meant to help us solve crimes. Or at least act as a deterrent. One would hope so. It's got a chance. Deterrents are for war rooms and board meetings. Anyone crazy or desperate enough to commit a crime in a city like this couldn't care less about anything as vague as the consequences of their actions. It's like the safety blanket, one with very few holes left in it. But it does have holes. Patching up those remaining holes takes effort, and that effort usually means rebooting the system. There's all kinds of technical details and digital bureaucracy involved, but the end result is that there are occasional localized blackouts, and the math used to schedule them is not impossible to predict. I see. But those windows of opportunity are small and short. Taking advantage of them requires specific knowledge. You need to be involved in law enforcement, pub data, or city planning. They'd have mentioned if my client was a cop, and he wouldn't have needed a public defender either. His file says he's modded for heavy mass manipulation, not tech interfacing, so that just leaves city planning. So does he work construction for the city? HK's only ever struck at times and locations where optics would be down, even with the devil's own luck. It can't possibly be a coincidence. Wait, so you're saying when this woman was killed, yeah, there was a blackout from 8 to 9 tonight. Right on schedule, so to speak. It had included an area surrounding the victim's apartment. Well, what about DNA from the crime scenes? Was my client a match? There's been no blood, no saliva, no suspect DNA at any of the crime scenes. No footage, no forensics. Also no motives, tampering, or witnesses. It's been like hunting a damn ghost. We didn't even have a murder weapon. Until now. Finally, a lucky break for the boys in blue. Scanners, cams, drones, forensics. No matter how you dress it up with tech, all detective work relies on basic assumption. People make mistakes. But HK's the kind of monster who doesn't make mistakes. Only reason we even caught him tonight was because he finished what he had set out to do all along. So was my client on the list of suspects before tonight? Weren't you listening? There was no list of suspects. We questioned some execs, a few CIs, someone even spoke to 1 or 2 unlisted at some point. Nothing came of it. There was talk about starting some kind of psych eval or something, but I never expected much to come of that. There's just not enough there to work with it. Not enough there to work with that. In other words, the only thing they could have to link my client to those killings is the murder weapon. If I can jostle that keystone, then the rest of that case should start to come loose as well. By the way, I couldn't help but notice that you're light on staff. It's 3 in the morning. Are you expecting a parade? I thought there would at least be a few androids around. There aren't many androids in any police station. Many androids in any police station this week. Now all the brass is renegotiating contracts. Contracts with Noble? Good guess. Hardly. They're the biggest robotics corp there is. Could spend all day in the city without leaving their offices shut up. Yes, we're very fortunate to have them headquartered here. Saves us some money on shipping at least. These talks never last that long. I'm sure they'll be back for writing checks for Noble ads by the end of the month. Even with Noble pushing those warm androids? Warm. Yuck. Might as well call it the adult line. You might see him in the bigger departments or out on patrol, but not around these offices. Warm or cold, there's no such thing as an android detective. Yeah. Yeah? You really think that'll happen? We've already used ads for patrolling, securing the scene, pacifying crowds. Doesn't seem like that big of a stretch to me. You're joking, right? Android detectives? All the pain we go through getting witnesses to talk to us. With your warm personality, I can't imagine. A cop knocks on your door, starts asking questions, you're gonna be put in a bad mood. An ad knocks on your door, calls you a degenerate criminal in a synthesized voice loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. You're gonna start posting shit that'll get put on the list. And we certainly don't want that. But flesh and blood witnesses are becoming less and less common anyway. Cameras, sensors, satellites, we already got all our facts from machines. Give it a few more years. It might make sense to let machines do the investigating too. The union would. The police union wouldn't let that happen. She needn't have specified. It's the only real union there is anymore. I saw the time of death was 9 p.m. on the autopsy, but do you have the timeline of the rest of the night's events? Can't trust much of what comes out of his mouth. But we've managed, thanks to less biased sources. And we're pretty confident about what we've been able to piece together from their statements. So they interviewed witnesses. Sounds eerily similar to real police work. The suspect and his girlfriend were arguing loudly with one another starting around 8 p.m. That's really cool. I hardly even noticed that the eye patch was off, but then the fact that that's a really cool effect. Neighbors were very clear about that part. Couldn't wait to tell us about the happy couple's domestic problems. Everyone in the building knew they'd been fighting for weeks. As you probably gathered from what you saw in the arcs, there was a struggle. Furniture turned over, glass shattered. But things got quiet sometime before 9. And then there's a gunshot. Scrubbers still scrubbing. Scrubbers are still scrubbing, looking for audio from the area to get a timestamp. But we heard from enough concerned citizens to be pretty damn sure about the time. Right. Emergency services got a burst of calls from the block shortly after 9 p.m. No one seemed to recognize the sound of what it was, but the silence that followed was pretty universally alarming. Officers arrived on the scene at 9:08 p.m., established perimeter, and entered through the open front door at 9:10 p.m. And then they found your client crouched over his dead girlfriend, his hand covered in her blood. At which point they moved to secure the scene and the suspect. Sorry, did you say his hand? Singular? Your client's modded. Cybernetic right arm. How modded are we talking about here? Register with how 85 habilis industrial grade looks like. Says he's spec'd for dexterous manipulation of up to class 4 KPA, which means minimum grip strength of... Well, basically, he could crush your neck without even gritting his teeth. That's strong. Considering your career change? No, it's not that. It's just... Your eye must be really sensitive for you to put the patch back on each time. And here I thought you just had a 14-year-old sense of fashion. You'd think a cop would cover up her dominant eye because it was fashionable? I actually thought the same thing the first time we met. You what? That arm on his has been in the shop for some time now. He can't work without it. Money got tight. They arguing? Yeah. When he did put his arm in for repairs, 8 days before each case for his victim was killed. Well, not a chance they'd be willing to chalk that up to coincidence. Your client was arrested on the scene after a preliminary scan found his fingerprints on the revolver, and no one else's. A revolver? What kind? The old kind. The real old kind. More specifically, a caliber M54, 6-chamber 10mm. Caliber? How retro. I don't know the half of it. We're talking steel chamber, real gunpowder, mechanical firing pin. And no tags. No tags? Just how old are we talking here? Yeah. 24/7 location data, timestamp trigger pulls, safety's coded to owner biometrics. Smart guns. For the past 3 decades, tags have made shooting crimes very unambiguous. So you're claiming my client was some kind of antique to commit these crimes. How else do you think he'd gotten away with these 5 other times? If he tried to buy a gun legit, he'd probably fail the first psych check. And even jailbroken pieces are only good for so long before update withdrawal sets in. So then M44, that's model year 2054. A 30-year-old gun. Well, that sure complicates things, doesn't it? In some ways, sure. But pre-tagging firearms are rare. You gotta be less than 1,000 of them left in a whole country, and fewer still compatible bullets. The ammunition would have been over 30 years old, too. The novelty of his weapon has kept us in the dark so far. But now that we have our hands on it, it's gonna put him away for good. Archive department complained loud as hell about how deep they had to dig. But with the protocols they found, the techs were able to match the rifling marks on all 6 bullets to the gun your client was found with. Rifling marks? Bullets fired from the gun that old are marked by the barrel shape. Yeah. So if all 6 bullets had the same rifling marks, that meant that were all fired from the same weapon. It's not as plug and play as tags are, but it's equally precise science, I assure you. And if that's not damning enough, the spent casings from the other 5 shootings were still in the chamber, without even needing to reload. If you committed 5 separate murders like that with a gun, 5 separate shots each, why would you not dispose of the casings in the gun? The only one who would know or even care about... No, you could... But would it really be safer to keep them in the gun? There's more plausible deniability if you just get rid of the individual bullets, not if you have them all locked and loaded in the same gun, especially if they're all spent. The caliber your client was found with is the gun HK used to kill 6 women. No way to lawyer around that. An untagged gun, just being anywhere near like a weapon that could warrant your arrest. Just being anywhere near a weapon like that could warrant your arrest. Being found by the police over a dead body with an untagged gun used at least 5 of the crime scenes is just... To summarize then, you believe that my client fought verbally, then physically with his girlfriend, and then he retrieved this weapon and shot her. Pretty much. How did he look when the officers found him? Guilty. How was his affect? Quiet. Detached. Stiff. Not exactly the picture of a grieving partner. That reaction may have lost his points with the cops, but beyond that, people react to loss in all kinds of unusual ways. And so long as the police are suspicious of you, there's no right way to grieve. So how about the basics? What exactly has my client been charged with? Your client, Carlos Backer Flat, was arrested on the scene at 9:50 p.m. You see his middle name already? I really do think he's a serial killer. The charge being the first-degree murder of his girlfriend, Miss Diane Dawn. First degree? That's increasingly rare, to say the least. It's rare for us to get handed anything but crimes of passion around here. city's got damn near more cameras than people. So you gotta be really, really stupid to try and get away with murder. Well, Heartbreak's gone away with it 6 times. So what's that make him? 5 times. And that makes him insane. I was gonna go with extraordinary. Let's split the difference and say he's extraordinarily insane. But nutjobs like that aren't renowned for their ability to think ahead. So what makes you think this was premeditated? How about the fact that he stalked and killed 5 other women as a warm-up? A warm-up? 5 previous bullets, 5 previous victims. None of them knew each other, lived near each other, worked in the same fields. Weeks of digital autopsies crawling up and down their online profiles. Nothing. So the serial killer chose his victims at random. They have nothing in common. Yeah, nothing in common at all. Other than they all look like cousins. Huh? What do you mean by that? The physical similarities are striking. All 5 prior victims were young women with brown hair and eyes, about the same height, comparable weight. While those features aren't exactly uncommon, couldn't it be a coincidence? If you really believe that, you should quit your job and start buying lotto tickets. HK's got himself a type. Anyone can see that. You really gonna try and tell me you don't see the resemblance? A young woman with brown hair, brown eyes. Can't tell how tall she is from the portrait, but I can take the hint. So, you think... what exactly? That Carlos Flat wanted to kill his girlfriend so badly, he went out and shot 5 other women first? Hey, if the shoe fits? If the shoe fits? Then you put the shoe on the... What Sunshine means is that it's not uncommon for killers to displace their violence from people close to them onto outlets with fewer consequences. Drifters, loners, strangers, workers. He was probably building up the nerve for tonight by first practicing on these other similar women. Or he's just so far gone that he couldn't tell the differences anymore. It's not the worst theory in the world, but it doesn't fit. They want to claim that those previous victims were practice runs, dress rehearsals for tonight's main event. If that were the case, there'd have been signs of hesitation, nerves. There'd have been mistakes. On top of which, guns are impersonal. Execution shots even more so. There's no sadism or hatred or intimacy in a single bullet to the heart. Killing your girlfriend or her lookalikes usually is, if nothing else, at least sterile. If you ask me. Thanks for the chat. I think I understand the background well enough now. Candidly, I see the same strokes you do, and the picture it paints ain't pleasant. But even so, it seems a bit unrefined to be brought before a judge, don't you think? It's only your job to catch the bastard. The DA is the one who gets the conviction. Besides, we're not exactly going to have to work hard to convince anyone of his guilt. And why is that? Because we found a handwritten confession at his desk. Well, that's, unexpected. I'm sorry, you're now telling me that he wrote a confession? Has it been verified? Not yet. We have to muscle pass everyone in fraud and disinfo to get to the front of that line. Why bother? The note's covered in his fingerprints. There's a copy in the discovery data, but I should warn you. It doesn't exactly make for light reading. Sorry for everything. Can't say it enough. Didn't mean to hurt you or do what I did. Did not sick. Want any of that to happen. Can't stay in control when I get mad. When I'm not in control, I hurt people without meaning to. Wish I hadn't broken them. Didn't sick mean to at first, but I was hurting. Wanted you to hurt too, but didn't want to hurt you. Words aren't enough. I know that now. I'll take responsibility and do what I've been avoiding. Please forgive me. Barely legible, in fact. Well, got a spin on that. No need. But it's a confession. Not a confession that he signed, though, is it? Not yet. And not one he intends to sign anytime soon, considering that he asked for representation. Yeah, the most wanted man in the city asked for a lawyer and got you. Guess you're both lucky. Hardly. I just happened to be awake when the call went out. But I'm not so flush with work that I can't afford to turn tail now. So if you don't mind, I'd like to go and speak with my client. What? He's not still handcuffed in there, is he? "2 hours or so in handcuffs isn't cruel or unusual. And that's for your safety as well. It's kind of you to worry, but I doubt I'll be in any danger. He's killed 6 women. None of them were redheads." Strong point. Seriously, though, I'd like to speak with him alone now. Camera's off, if you don't mind. Mic's on or off is your call, counselor. I'll be watching the feed from right outside in case anything happens. And the cuffs that is, stays on. Not worried about me? How chivalrous. Yeah, my armor's practically blinding. Gross. I'll start up the unlock cycle. Counselor, just one last word of advice. If you have any interest in his well-being, I suggest you help him sign that confession. Not a bad idea. I do get paid either way. But a defense part of defense attorney isn't just for show, detective. I mean it. 6 people dead is one thing, but he's also caused weeks of widespread terror and public unrest. Putting it another way, he's made the state look bad. That's a capital crime if there ever was one. And even if the death penalty is not actually on the table these days, I can guarantee he's not going to like whatever rehabilitation plan they draw up for him. Look, I've seen the virtual work release program in person, and it's being challenged before the Supreme Court. Yeah, sometime in the next decade, maybe. Just remember, a plea deal might feel like a loss for you, but it keeps him from, well, that's probably a win for your client, right? Prison sentences are generally lighter for those who plead guilty. That much is true. It saves the courts a great deal of time and money, and they show their gratitude with reduced sentencing. But no one will ever be grateful towards the heartbreak killer. Anyone convicted for killing 6 people, they'll never rest their mind another day in their life. Okay. It's depressing as all hell in here. They need to liven this place up. Carlos flat, right? Hope you don't mind if I get comfortable. We've got a lot to cover. But this shouldn't take all night. I already told you people that I didn't. I'm not a cop, Carlos. Furthest thing from it. I'm a lawyer. You're a lawyer, in fact. And I'm here to help you. And they said that too. All of them did. Back there and here. Kept repeating it the whole ride over. They said they were going to help me, that they knew this was all a mistake. Then they said that I killed. Acting like they were on my side, and they thought that I could have... It's not their job to help you, Carlos. But it is mine, and I'm here now. He's still in shock. I need more information, but if I approach this the wrong way, he'll just clam up even more. I'm sure you're exhausted. It's probably difficult to think, let alone speak. But I'd like you to try and answer a few questions. The police already... questioned you, I'm sure. But they were treating you as a suspect, not as a client. Okay. So what do you want to know? Let me know about you first. I'd like to know a little bit more about you first, Carlos. Something like, what line of work are you in? I'm with City Engineering. Or I was, or I should be. As I thought. The police must be convinced he mapped the optics blackouts using data he stole from work. My arm, I got it slotted for the job. And, Carlos, I'm gonna need more than that. So what do I know? He works in city engineering, not a desk job. What else can I look up? July 8th, 189, 94 kilograms. Criminal record, only civil disturbance twice. Registered at birth, modifications, industrial, class 4. Pending known affiliates, pending psych eval. Ray said he was modded for work, and that arm must be in custody at the moment. But based on his shoulder, I'd have to be pretty. With a shoulder like that, it must be utilitarian. He doesn't strike me as the type who's enamored with the aesthetics of modding. The young and restless than the rich. Swapping in neon and chrome limbs because they like the way it looks. Or the way it makes other people start looking at them. No, he's pragmatic, grounded, and very unlucky. In which case, I should be too. You know, my brother wanted a mod. Really? Really? I don't even have a brother. He had everything planned out. A whole career path of promotions and bonuses, and the upgrades they'd afford him. Then came his 18th birthday present. Test results politely informed him that he was not a viable candidate. That sucks. I think he felt relieved actually. It seemed like it was a weight off his chest. Like he was glad that he didn't have to choose. Does that make any sense? Yeah, I think it does. I always figured if I'd start at all, I'd start small. A hand or an eye. Test the water. Never thought about lobbing my whole damn arm off. But the recruiter was enthusiastic. He said because of the NCDA, there was financial aid and resources. Of course, that got shit-canned. So now me and every other modder is royally screwed. Couldn't even let me keep the tax credit. The New Citizens with Disabilities Act was amended, not repealed. But I doubt he appreciated the distinction at the moment. I worked the tighter spaces, the high-volt environments, mostly canopy upkeep. Typical stuff for modders, you know? He's speaking freely now. Don't need to do much that repeats his words back. Yeah, don't need to do much more than repeat his words back to him to keep him talking. But the right word choice, here or there, can still make a difference. You work on a canopy, you must be... You must be under a lot of pressure, now that the subways are cordoned off. Damn straight. And this crap with Long. Once word got out that the case against them was real, every desk job in the chain became terrified of their own shadow. All of them convinced that internal affairs is going to come knocking if they've misplaced so much as a paperclip. Everything by the book means no room for compromise, no room for problem solving. No room for engineering? Yeah. And no patience for screw-ups. He's trying very hard not to look at his shoulder. Why are you wearing your prosthetic right now, Carlos? Yeah, that. Rejection issues. Starting last month. A lot of sleepless nights. Rejection? Did the therapy not take? It's not like that. I wasn't oozing pus out of my sockets or anything. Then do these rejection issues have anything to do with your scars? Not in the way you're thinking. I'm right-handed. So those cuts on your face are just from shaving? Never thought this go on so long. I'd have to relearn how to do everything. I mean, the problem started small. Trembling. But then spasms. Just oversensitivity, they said. An easy fix. But the problem got bigger. Couldn't let it get that far. Needed to be able to trust your own hands when you're on the job site. Drop a cutter at the wrong moment and people could get hurt. So I sat down and made an appointment, turned in my arm, and watched my case get replaced at the back of the damn line. Watch my case get placed at the back of the damn line. Where did you turn it in? Some mass turnaround chop shop with a waiting list like you wouldn't know. Doesn't sound like you're a happy customer. Hell no! I found a dozen other clinics with shorter wait times. But as long as I'm renting and not owning, the manufacturer decides where your arm gets maintenance. That's why I'm sitting here with these expensive-ass stumps for a shoulder. This expensive-ass stump for a shoulder. I haven't been able to work in weeks. Bosses weren't generous enough to say my position might still be there when I got two working arms again. You couldn't buy or rent a replacement for yourself? Just in the meantime. I serve at the pleasure of the state. And I got exclusivity contracts with Hindi all locked up with white knuckle tight. Even in 60 years. Even in 60-year non-compete clauses. Hindi. How Industries? As I recall, he's registered one of their Halibus models. If I took one step on site with uninsured tech, forget the fines, I'd lose the down payment and my arm. And I'd never work in the city again. If this was my last quarter, maybe I could have worked something out with management, but like I said, no one's sticking their neck out for anyone now that belongs in hot shit. You mentioned discomfort. Are you in pain? Pain will come and go. It's the itches that'll kill you. And the phantoms come back pretty fast when I don't have anything. Arm shaped attached to me. Did they give you something to, well, wear in the meantime? Something that clinics lend out for cases like this. I'm out of water. What they gave me is a dead weight, 3-bolted landfill bait piece of shit. Dead weight, 3-jointed landfill bait. Wow. I'm talking for like over an hour with no water. Sorry, it's a very shitty feeling. Having a part of your body that you know they cut corners on. It fits. It's compatible, technically. I can slot it in and feel on balance again. But the fingers don't even bend, and the quick twitch motors are off. And it's like walking around with your arm asleep, or dead. So were you wearing it when... Were you wearing it when you were arrested? No, I wasn't. But I'm pretty sure I saw the police bagging it as evidence, so can't have gotten far. So Detective Reyes was being quite literal about how he was found. He had the victim's blood on his left arm only because at the time in question he didn't have a right. stating, from my own very unprofessional opinion, from what very little I know about firearms, firing a gun one-handed is incredibly difficult. Firing a revolver one-handed is also incredibly difficult. Firing a revolver one-handed with your non-dominant arm, while also suffering from trembles and shakes and itches, you probably don't have the accuracy of getting 5 other people straight through the heart with one bullet. No inconsistencies in the story so far, and he's up and up about about as well as can be expected. But this all has just been a warm-up for both of us. Now comes the delicate part. Carlos, you and the victim were romantically involved. How long did you two know each other? Right. I've known her since college. We shared a few classes, some mutual friends. Always got along. Eventually we just got together at some point. Guess I never actually asked her out for... Guess I never actually asked her out the real formal way. Sounds pretty cowardly, saying that out loud. Diane, she was in genetics. Focused her studies on agriculture. It always takes them a few tries to get used to using past tense. Just finished her post-grad work this year. Got hired right out the gate. Practically headhunted. You believe that? Practically headhunted. Of course she was. Any company would be lucky to have her. Unlike... It was a real-ass job. Paid real-ass money, too. So her career was starting to pan out. Right as yours had fallen into the mother of all slumps. Where was she hired? Pedigree? No. Perigee Laboratories. I say that like the names matter. The whole setup's under Hardcore's umbrella. That doesn't narrow it down. The Harvest Corporation grows a third of the soybeans and corn in the entire country. One client that size, the lab wouldn't need any others. Now, no corporation earns the mega prefix without a little throat cutting, but hardcore is about as unsexy as a big business can get. Predictable like the seasons. No one's gonna buy that they had some lab tech murdered because of corporate greed. Has she adjusted well to her new job? Yeah, they loved having her there. She never mentioned arguments or disputes? Corporate politics getting rough? I don't think so. Not like I've been a good listener lately. But I've never got the impression that she... Look, no one I know could do this to her. And there's nothing she could have done that would deserve what happened to her. It was a long shot, hoping for a disgruntled character from her past, shifting blame onto. But with no other suspects, I can't just reshuffle the detective's suspicion. I'll have to disprove their argument entirely. Thank you, Carlos. That was very helpful. It was? Now I'd like you to try and tell me whatever you can about what happened tonight. Oh. Starting at the beginning and take your time. The details are important. Miss, Morgan. I'll try, Morgan. Whenever you're ready. We were arguing. We have been arguing a lot lately. Arguing about stupid stuff. I haven't been working. I haven't been making money. I haven't been pulling my weight. I was mad at myself. But more than that, I was jealous of her. Jealous of her nothing. Jealous of her goddamn money. The reports say you were arguing around 8 p.m.? 8? Yeah. Must have been when we started. We got into it and I said a lot of things that I shouldn't have. And I said one thing I really, really shouldn't have. I crossed the line, and we both knew it. So I left. You left? Yeah. Locked out the front door. Thought some fresh air might help me cool off. Help me figure out what to say to make it up to her. Of course the air wasn't fresh, just humid, thick like mud. And while I was pissing away the time, Diane was... Did you bring your phone with you or any other electronics? No. I kind of stormed off. Didn't even take my key fobs. Didn't even lock the door behind me. With optics down, traffic and street level cameras won't help him. That leaves. Did you go through a checkpoint or talk to anyone with modded eyes? Did you buy anything, cash or credit? No, not even a vending machine. Not even a damn vending machine, huh? I may have met my match. How could anyone be this unlucky? That's quite unfortunate. I just wanted quiet at the time. Wanted to wallow in it, really. Sorry if I don't have all the details quite right. My head is... But if my exact route would help, the camp's probably... What? What is it? You had no idea about the blackout. I didn't do this. I couldn't. Carlos. I'm the one person you don't have to try and convince. After all, I'm your lawyer. So let's just get it all out there and see what we've got to work with. Right. Now, you said you left to clear your head. So what made you come back? I came back because I heard a noise. A loud noise. Didn't know what it was. But it was loud, and it scared me. And it came from the direction of our apartment. I was walking back at first, but at some point I must have started running, because when I got there I was so out of breath. And when I saw that the front door was open, something dropped in my chest and my lungs wouldn't. You live on the first floor, right? Yeah, first floor apartment. Street-facing entrance. We were proud of that when we first moved in. Like it was some kind of big deal. From the hallway I saw her, but I didn't realize. I never thought that she was... The lights were off. The whole room was a mess. I thought we hadn't been robbed. I thought we had been robbed, or she had fallen, or there was broken glass. Furniture knocked over. She was... I called her name and she didn't move. I checked her pulse and she was still warm. Her blood was warm. And I saw the gun. It looked so heavy, but I thought it had to be fake because I didn't want it to be real. So that why you picked it up? Huh? Picked it up? I didn't touch that thing. I didn't shoot her. Then how are your prints on it? Doing what I do, you hear a lot of lies. White lies, blatant lies, hasty lies. Bad lies especially. For me, it's always been easy to spot a lie. But it can be hard to know what to do about it. I have all the proof I need in my files, but he's nervous and offensive. And none of this works if he doesn't trust me. So let's check. How Industries habilis 2085 medical limb. Both impressive grip strength, dexterity, and low cost of maintenance. Submitted 5 weeks ago, so you couldn't have had it. 27-year-old agriculture genetics researcher for Perigee Laboratories found shot through the heart in a bedroom of the apartment that not known connection with the previous HK victims. Common brand of pill organisms found in a victim's grasp contains a number of prescriptions and over-the-counter medications, including immune adjusters, NSAIDs, and Tripraxis. Tripraxisone. Prescribed to reduce moderate to severe discomfort arising from mild sensitivity complications. You're right-handed. There's no way you would have written this. A note handwritten in a barely legible script. Sorry for everything. Can't say it enough. Didn't mean to hurt you or do what I did. Did not. Sick. What any of this to happen. Can't stay in control when I get mad. When I'm not in control, I hurt people without meaning to. Wish I hadn't broken them. Didn't. Sick. Mean to at first. But I was hurting. Wanted you to hurt too, but didn't want to hurt you. Words aren't enough. I know that now. I'll take responsibility and do what I've been avoiding. Please forgive me. That note doesn't make sense. A caliber 50 M54 6-chamber 10mm revolver bears fingerprints matching Carlos Baker's left hand with a 99.91% certainty. Rifling marks match the bullet with which pierced the victim with a 99.97% certainty. Rifling marks match the bullets from the previous heartbreak killings with a 99.98 to 99.989% certainty. No matches to any other archive forensic data as far back as 2051. Single bullet pierced the subject's sternum, left atrium, and aorta. Death was instantaneous. There's some handwriting at the bottom of the scanned document. Same handiwork as previous 5. Lab message confirmed. Ballistics match 2. It's a fact that your fingerprints are on that gun. What? But I didn't do this. I wasn't thinking. It was just Carlos. All I'm saying is that you picked it up. That's all. Would you believe me if I said I didn't realize it was a gun? That explains how his prints got on the gun. But not in a way that would satisfy the police. Still, if all I did was hold the gun. So stupid. I know what a gun looks like. But seeing it in my own home right in front of... You were in shock, Carlos. You still are. The police came in sometime after that. I don't remember much of what they said. Things started moving fast, it seemed like. The rest of my night went probably the way you expected. Carlos, you admit to having a verbal argument with Diane, but you said you were surprised to see the room trashed when you got back. To clarify, you're saying that you two never had a physical fight. What? Physical? We never fought. We never fought like that. Did the police say that we did? They assumed as much. Which means they also assumed the room was disheveled well before the shooting occurred. Considering what Carlos has told me, what else did they assume? I'd like you to take a look at something for me. The crime scene. It's an AR module built from data taken as the police entered, so... Right, it's just that. It's just data. No grisly details. I see it. Take your time. That's how the police found things. Now close your eyes and think back to how the room looked when you left. Try and focus on what's out of place. I'll take notes. Just say whatever comes to mind. I don't remember exactly where everything was. But well, the mirror was upright, of course. And that clock was still on the wall. The chair got knocked over at some point, and the bed got tossed. The cushion's torn. And the urn fell. Other than that... No, sorry. That's all that stands out to me. I see. Like so? Good to see they still haven't mispaid in 60 years. It's just, I guess I just assumed your notes would be making edits to the AR. Sorry, I didn't mean... I think your drawing was pretty good, considering. I'd like to change the subject now, Carlos. Right. Let's talk about the letter that was found on your desk. Letter? What do you mean? I mean this letter here. Do you recognize it? Because the police are calling it a confession. This is just a note to self? Pardon? Look, when we fight, I lose my temper. Say things I didn't mean to. So this morning, I tried writing things down so that I'd have a script to stick to. So I could apologize to her instead of just fighting with her. You say in the note that you hurt them. That's... I broke her fidget tubbies. Her what? Her what? Her fidget... Oh! It's like little cute little stationery. They're not worth a damn. You can buy them in any flea market or garage sale. But they meant a lot to her. And I broke them. I mean, I was pissy at the time, but that goddamn piece of shit rental arm. I'd hardly know where I was swinging it half the time. Got so angry I just ripped it off and tossed it in my room. That cheap, dusty, worthless. Okay, let's say he did break her fidget duckies. Fidget duckies with his replacement arm. What does that change? Nothing at the moment. There's not enough detail in the note for me to prove what his intent was when he sat down to write it. But if the police insist on claiming it's a confession from the heartbreak killings anyway, couldn't even bother to sweep them up. I felt so. Ceramic debris. I'm gonna call the police back in here and I'm gonna get this cleared up for you. What? That's it? That's it? Oh. Okay. Although, before I do that, I do have to ask. Heartbreak? You mean that cycle that was trending all month? I mean, as much as anyone, I guess. I haven't been getting out much, but I'm sure everybody's on edge. A guy like that out there, he shoots people through the heart, right? The police have kept the victim's appearances far away from any upstanding news sources. So unless he was already following the murders, Carlos wouldn't notice any resemblance to his girlfriend. I mean, she was shot in the chest, but that's just... that doesn't mean anything, does it? If he's this slow on the uptake, he's gonna be a real shock when those officers walk in here and accuse him of being a serial killer. I'll just have to squash that theory as quickly and definitively as possible. 404. I didn't realize you could smoke in here. Technically, I can smoke wherever I want. For a fee? I guess so. Nervous? Don't be. I'm the one who's on the clock. Right. I'm sure this isn't your first time doing this. No, of course not. It will be my first homicide defense, though. Oh. Why does everyone always think the first time's so goddamn important? Hey, cheer up. I've got relevant experience in other areas. Oh? And, what areas are those? You ever gamble, Carlos? No, ma'am. I never go anywhere near loot boxes. That's not... You know what? Sure. Fine. 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 As a gacha player, you get to use that. Go ahead. I meant more like playing cards. Oh. Well then, no to that too. I've actually got pretty terrible luck. Could have fooled me. Well, what I do is a lot like poker, Carlos. Poker's nice because even if you're dealt with nothing but crap all night long, you can still win. Which makes things pretty fun. So, do you have a good poker face? I like to think so. And are you lucky? Only when the stakes are high. And, in this metaphor, we're playing poker. And the state's the dealer. If only. No, the state's more like... the house. You mean like the house always wins? Yes. They're very good at it. Winning, I mean. That's why they're up there and we're down here. That's why they're the house. So what do? We play the cards we're dealt, as best we can. Win more hands than we lose. Keep it up, and eventually, someone will come over and tap the dealer on the shoulder and whisper something in their ear. And then we'll be politely asked to leave. That doesn't sound very triumphant. The house always wins. So our definition of victory is more like, don't lose. Thanks, Morgan. But I guess I was more asking like, what should I say? Just leave all the talking to me. So that's the strategy. What's up? You know, there's a saying about gamblers with strategies. Because I've already woke up the DA. Already? She must be new. The district attorneys have final say on whether or not the case is brought to trial. It's only fair since they're the ones who end up having to actually prove the damn thing. Most of them prefer simple guilty pleas over long, protracted trials. And they all dislike having their time wasted. Unfortunately, then you'll have to call them back. Because my client is not guilty. And frankly, I'm not even sure you have enough to hold him here. You got a weird sense of humor, counselor. Different generations, I guess. Before my time, kind of thing. I'm very serious when it comes to defending a man's innocence, detective. I have your client's written confession. His written confession. Let's start there. Okay, well, we'll be happy to. The thrust of every argument starts with the facts. What's already known and agreed upon. Public knowledge for every player at the table. It's pretty simple, counselor. Real paint-by-number stuff. See, we found a note on this at his apartment, with his fingerprints on it. I apologize for how he hurt them all so bad. Now, how are you planning on spinning that? Those are the facts. But I've been building up my hand all night, and now I've got the weapons to answer anything they try and throw at me. My client did write that note, and it was an apology, but not for murder. He was apologizing for, analyze the facts that have been laid out, then thumb your way through your responses in your hand. Drag and drop the card that best answers the argument on the right. You can move your mouse over your opponent for a reminder of what the key point is. He did write a confession. He wrote a confession for the flaw that he did. He was simply apologizing for this. I found myself asking that exact same question. What are we looking at here? Something from the crime scene. This diagram of the room, it's created from data you captured, right? Pure, non-GMO, augmented reality crime scene data. Yeah. What's non-GMO? Not much these days. Notice anything out of place? Yeah, the whole room's full of busted shit. It's the scene of a murder. Full of busted shit for sure. But I was more referring to the unidentified ceramic debris found on the western side of the room. The hell is that? Ceramic debris, huh? Must be from the vase that got tossed. Actually, that's not possible. Because that vase... It's not possible for that debris to have come from the vase. Because the vase is still pristine. If that vase doesn't have a scratch on it, then the debris must come from somewhere else. That debris is what my client wrote the apology over. You're saying that confession was his apology for not vacuuming? I am. Because that pile of rubble is all that remains of the victim's collection of a Fidget Bob. Fidget Tubbies. What he said. Mr. Flat broke the victim's ceramic figures by accident. And that impassioned note to self was just an attempt at scripting out an apology. Can you prove that? We're taking this seriously? As much as I wish we weren't. We're all in agreement that my client wrote that note. And we can all plainly see that there's a ceramic debris at the crime scene. Now, since it couldn't have come from the vase, it must have come from the collectibles. Simple, right? The hell are you on about? The entire room is trash, as the arcs clearly shows. Those fidget tubbies must have gotten pulverized during the struggle, too. You're really gonna claim that he sat down and had an argument for breaking toys after gunning her down? Not a bad train of thought. But I can do better. No, those collectibles were destroyed much earlier than that. And there's proof. The rental. Just take a closer look at the rental you took into custody. Huh? One swipe of your fingers should show exactly how devastating it was to the fickle buddy ecosystem. It's fidget tubbies. Whatever. You did take it into custody, and I'm sure your techs found ceramic debris on it, yes? Now that you mention it. Fine, whatever. He broke them with his arm. While he was killing her. Happy? Overjoyed. Because even a cheap arm's got an operating system that logged the last time it was worn, right? Right. See, I happened to spot a footnote on the lab report. Said that rental hadn't been used since the AM. Whose side are you on, old man? It's gotten pretty late, Sunshine. Just trying to save us all the time where I can. Well, thank you for your service. Are you seriously buying this crap? Just look at how sprawled, how panicked that note is. You expect me to believe that he was that upset over a fidget tubby collection? One that hasn't even been graded? Huh? Setting aside Detective Ray's surprising depth of knowledge when it comes to collectibles, you're correct. They held no real monetary value. It would be odd for Carlos to be so shaken over their loss. But so what? So what? After all, that's not panic you're seeing on that page. No, the only reason that note looks that way it does is because Carlos... Because Carlos is right-handed. Yes, I am. Did they not know that? Shouldn't that have been on my permanent record or something? So the reason why that note looks like asylum wall scribbles is just because he had to use his left hand to write it. I tend to think better writing than typing. And I need to get used to writing and using my left anyways. I just thought it could be good practice. Taking that into account, alongside the ceramics, your slam dunk confession is looking about as watertight as a fishnet. Okay, fine. Forget about the confession. Congratulations, counselor. You've established that your client's remorseless. Now let's get back to reality of the situation. Here are the facts. We found your client at the scene of the crime, wearing a coat covered in the victim's blood, right next to a big old goddamn gun that just so happened to have his fingerprints on it. That's right, that coat is... What, you're gonna claim it's not his? That he practically wears an extra small? That he actually wears an extra small? She's trying to bait me into her typical low-key fashion. As the arguments flow, you won't always have a stronger hand. Take as little damage as possible and wait for a more favorable chance. She must have something, no sense playing into it. Ooh, something you'd like to ask me, Detective? I'm just curious. What'll it be next? You're gonna tell me he actually wears an extra small? You can ante up? Poker, because I'm gonna lose anyway. No point in raising an argument that I'm gonna lose, so I'll stay. Gee, Carlos, do you? No. Yeah, sure. There's no evil twin you've forgotten to mention? She's baiting me. No, I'm afraid not. Not even gonna go for a mysterious third party at the scene of the crime? I will have to prove that. I do not have the evidence for proving that right now, so it is best to either just stay and lose the hand. But going there now without hard evidence. I do not have hard evidence. I have to stay. I have no evidence of a third person at the scene. Right now you don't. Damn right you don't. It's clear as day in the arcs. No evidence of anyone but Carlos being there that night. So keep dreaming. I still have chips. It was obvious you had something there. I wasn't gonna win that hand either way. But at least I didn't overstep and take more damage than I had to. We're not contesting any of that, Detective. My client freely admits to holding that gun. He picked it up in confusion after coming home to find a brutal crime scene. Which was not smart. Hey. But not illegal either. And that's all? And that's all? He had her blood all over his clothes. Yes, he did. Right. Do you have those clothes on hand, by the way? The lab finished with them a while ago. What are you getting at? It'll be easier just to show you. Would you mind getting them for me? You know what? Sure. I could use the fresh air. This thing's that bullshit in here anyway. In here I thought the room smelled like... What are you doing? My coat's covered in her blood. I remember that much. So does that, like, make me look really... Doesn't it, like, make me look really bad? Just relax, Carlos. I'm pretty sure that's impossible. You're innocent. And that means that having more evidence will always help you, not hurt you. Really? Really? Not really. Plenty of innocent people in prison. People with bad luck, or bad lawyers. People shouldn't count on the truth to come out easy. More often than not, it takes coaxing. What was it that reminded me of? Alright, here it is. One bloodstained jacket fresh from the lab. So what's your angle? Gonna tell us it's actually just hot sauce. The coat the suspect was wearing when taken into custody back from analysis. Blood on the sleeve matches out of the victim with a 99.989 certainty. No other details of any forensic significance found. No. That would just be silly. She actually thought it over. So what the hell's your point? Hey! Sorry, just got thrown off by the turn of good fortune. Good fortune. You should thank the detective for bringing you your jacket, Carlos. She's just proven your innocence. My client was arrested wearing this coat. He would have been wearing it at the time of the murder. It has the victim's blood on it, who we know died when she was shot in the heart by the gun that happens to be an old war pre-tagging firearm. And so this coat proves that he couldn't have been the shooter. Sense happens to be a key here. I just need to draw their attention to what they can. This one's a little bit tough. The coat that the suspect was wearing when taken into custody, taken by the lab techs for additional analysis, but the initial test showed on the left sleeve that matches that of the victim. Blood on the sleeve that matches the victim with 99.989 certainty. No other details of significant forensics were found. Arc data. Victim was shot from the room's doorway. No one expected DNA present. No one expected crumbs present. No one expected fingerprints present. No evidence of a digital tampering. That's right there in the ARC's data. Cause of death, ballistic trauma, class 4 blood loss. Single bullet pierced the subject's sternum, left atrium, and aorta. Death was instantaneous. There's some handwriting scrawled, some handiwork to this message. And ballistic match too. I want to be very careful. So there is blood on your left arm. The jacket, the autopsy, and the revolver. Duh! If he fired the gun, there would be the smell of gunpowder on the coat. It has to be smell. Because an old gun like that would smell like gunpowder. Because there has to be gunpowder, and if you're firing it, if he fired it with his jacket on, and if he fired it from his left arm, there would have to be. I'm hoping. I hope I'm right. I really hope I'm right. Just do me one favor, detective. Tell me what you smell. I don't smell anything except dried blood. Exactly! The coat smells like blood, but it doesn't smell like... cigarette. That's what I've been smelling. Yes, Detective London, I was smoking earlier. Could you rejoin the conversation? I've been listening. You want me to smell the jacket? If you would. Let's see. Oh. No gunpowder. What? What about gunpowder? Oh, don't blame yourself for not noticing. This was before your time. You can't be more than a few years older than me. But not before your partners, it seems. See, gunpowder's weak by today's standards, but it's still volatile stuff. Hard to store, prone to misfiring. And when it goes bang, it leaves behind an awful lot of evidence. The hell is she talking about, London? Modern firearms like the ones we carry use electricity, magnetism. Real guns? Even air pressure or sound waves. They've got more accuracy, more firepower, less recoil, less noise. And they don't leave behind any residue. Gunpowder residue. You talk my ear off about how difficult it is to track down a gun that doesn't leave digital traces. But a revolver like this one? It'd leave gunpowder on the skin of whoever fired it for days. So then his coat. If you don't trust your nose, you can check the lab reports. I think if they found any gunpowder on my client or his clothes, they'd have taken that time to highlight it. Well, whatever. That just means he washed off after shooting her, or he changed his clothes. That's not impossible, but it would be pretty pointless. Huh? His jacket and his left arm were soaked in blood. Were blood-soaked when your officers found him. Would he really go through all the effort to get rid of something as subtle as gunpowder residue, just to get the victim's blood all over himself afterwards? Your logic is faulty. In light of these details, I'd like to formally request that you reconsider the charges Mr. Flatt is facing. As soon as possible. Whoa. They're faltering now. She'll topple over at any moment. The letter was mostly icing on the cake for them. But that gun is all they had to link Carlos to any of the shootings. So if it looks like you never actually fired the gun, I'll admit, things were a little dicey there a few times. But once I was able to grasp the situation, the smaller pieces fell into place easily enough. Not my cleanest work so far, but overall I'd say. Did she get a message? Find what? Something you'd like to share, Detective? You're good. Twisting the truth into knots, making the facts work for you. Thanks. But your luck just ran out. Because the net scrubbers found a cam active at the exact moment of the shooting, and right now, I'm staring at a photo of the killer. Wanna bet? A photo of the shooter. If she had that, we wouldn't still be talking. But I doubt she's just pulled this out of her ass. She got something from the scrubbers. She's bluffing. Are you bluffing? That's a bold bluff for this late in the game, Detective. Especially when we both know that there was an optics blackout during the shooting. What was the statement? The quality is lacking. And yet there it is. They managed to find a quarter needle of evidence in a whole city block of haystacks. What are the goddamn chances? No. With the scale their tools operate on, I guess the chances are always in their favor. Well, it's a little bit blurry. Don't look at me, I didn't take the damn thing. Technically, no one took it. Looks like at the time of this shooting, a neighbor was on their phone. Probably venting about how crazy the couple across the way was acting. But if their phone was on, its camera would be on. And so we managed to get this shot through the window. Where to begin? Far away, unfocused, ultra low resolution, zoomed in, blurred, color shifted, and so compressed it looks like it's from another century. There are a lot of tools that can enhance this imagery and further, and I could count the pixels on one hand. And you could kiss its admissibility in court goodbye. You can't honestly claim that you can identify my client from this image. And there's no way in hell you could get this past the judge. You're probably right, we couldn't. But I think I know a DA that could. Either way, it doesn't seem like your client's leaving the station anytime soon. Think I know a DA that could? Don't be so modest, old man. We have photo evidence of a left-handed shooter standing in the hallway at the same time the whole neighborhood heard a gunshot. And who do we know had their left-handed fingerprints all over that gun? You're referring to my client. You think. We've established she wasn't wearing his modded armor at all tonight. So he must have shot her with his left. Yes, and we've also established that he's weak with his left side. His left side that had no gunpowder whatsoever. Forensics will never be perfect, counselor. Sometimes we miss things. Sometimes you take a walk through the rain. When you finally get there, you get where you're going. You somehow end up dry. But that doesn't mean it didn't rain. All of which is to say, before judge or jury, photographic evidence outweighs a failed sniff test. Carlos is innocent. I know he is. But that photo shows a left-handed shooter. Carlos is innocent. That photo is real. If both are true, then that means the photo doesn't show what it appears to show. So, at a loss for words. Never. I'm just confused about one thing. Where was this photo taken from exactly? Exactly. Positional data is usually only accurate to the nearest public router. If we DN on the phone's owner and ask them where, why bother with any of that? Ballistics and common sense tells us that the perp shot from the room's doorway. The front entrance of the apartment faces the south. That's the hallway that runs back to the bedroom. We're looking straight at the shooter, so it's pretty obvious that it was taken from across the north window. From the north. That's from the north, but why can we clearly see the... The window, or the clock, is to the left of the window, Why would the clock be next to the doorway? So we're looking into the bedroom from the north window. If she's wrong, I should seize this opportunity to start turning the tide. You're wrong. I'm afraid that's simply not possible, Detective. This photo has been taken from the east. What kind of bluff is that supposed to be? The good detectives are misinformed here, and I need to take advantage of it. Time to press the initiative. The hell do you mean this was taken from the east? The autopsy tells us that the victim was shot from the doorway. Your officer's ARC data tells us the precise location of everything in the room at the time they arrived. And now your photo shows us the exact moment of the shooting. We can now raise the ante on a hand up the curtains. Answer wrong and you lose more credit. But answer correctly, and you can bank up more credit for trickier hands down the line. And altogether, that tells us that this photo must have been taken from the east window. As long as you consider. Let's ante up. Take one look at the clock on that photo. The clock, what about it? Clock, huh? Seems like London's got an idea. If he's mistaken, I could pounce on it to keep my tempo high. This photo was taken right before the shooting, so... Wait, don't tell me the time of death is wrong. No, the time of death is still accurate. I didn't lose anything by keeping my mouth shut while London's train of thought ran its course. Oh! So even if he would come to the same conclusion, I'm still incentivized to actually... I'm incentivized to make my case and win as often as I can. So then what the hell are we on about? There's a clock on the wall in this photo, analog style, and it reads 9 o'clock. 9 p.m., the time of the shooting. What the hell's so special about that? Nothing. There's nothing odd about the time the clock reads, but... Do you remember there being a clock in the room? What? Actually, I don't recall there being a clock. That makes sense. You wouldn't recall seeing a clock. Because when the police secured the scene, the clock had already been knocked onto the floor. And the only clock in that room is in the northeastern corner. And my client has informed me that before the crime it was hung up on the eastern wall. Like so, you should not have shown the drawing. An artistic rendition. It's, very distinct. If you had information on the crime scene, was before the shooting, why didn't you just add that to the arcs? I'll show you my hand. Just because discovery law compels us to share info, doesn't mean we have to play fair, Detective. Slipped my mind. I'll do that now. The important thing is that the clock was on the eastern wall before the shooting occurred. Then this photo must be looking from the western window to see. Don't start getting ahead of yourself. The victim was shot at 9 p.m., the same time that this photo was taken of the shooter. But you want to claim that the clock's still on the eastern wall when it would have been knocked down during the fighting? You've got your logic backwards, Detective. Your precise photo shows the room was pristine at the time of the shooting. And there's one other piece of evidence that proves exactly how the cards stand. Nothing much, really. Only that they're on top of the victim's body. And not under it. If the glass fell on top of the victim's body, that would mean that she was dead on the ground before the room got thrashed. But that doesn't make any sense. Why would anyone thrash the room afterwards? That's a good question, Carlos. Luckily, it's the detectives who have to delve into the minds of the criminal and insane, and not us. Tell me, detectives, were there any signs of a struggle at the other crime scenes? Other crime scenes? No, nothing like that. Those attacks would have been over in a matter of seconds. So what did you think when you saw the mess in the bedroom? That this was personal and things had gotten complicated. Shit happens. Shit does happen, detective. But in this case, it seems there's been a general misconception about the order in which shit happened. So what if the room didn't get tossed over until afterwards? He still shot her. And we have a photo right here. And I'm glad you do, detective, because that photo proves my client's innocence. Proving that wasn't my client who pulled the trigger is difficult, and maybe more importantly for all of us, time-consuming. Thanks to your photo, I can instead prove that it couldn't have been my client who pulled the trigger, because the man in the photo couldn't possibly be Carlos. Like hell it can't! The glass shards prove that the room was pristine at the time of the shooting. And we know that until the room was tossed, the clock was on the eastern wall, which means that this photo of the shooter was taken from the west. Back to this shit? That's impossible. The only hallway into that apartment runs from north to south. The only person that prints on that gun is your client, and the only fact that matters is that he used it to murder six innocent people. You're a very honest person, detective. Excuse me? That's why you're such a shitty gambler. You played your own cards too early, and now I can steal the pot right out from under you. You're right about the hallway's orientation. And you're right about the prints. And this HK figure has claimed 6 lives. But we aren't looking at the hallway in that photo. What? What we're seeing is... I want to double check real quick. Autopsy report revolver photograph. Because the camera is not set to photo mode at the time, the amount of quality data is severely limited. File markers for the post-capture multi-spectrum image enhancement indicate that the photo is already being cleaned as fast as possible. Sort of. By the way, do you recall where those glass shards came from? From a standing mirror. A mirror that, at the time of the shooting, stood across the room from the western window. But then that would mean, at that angle, from that viewpoint, it would reflect the hallway. So we're not seeing a shooter with a gun in their left hand. We're seeing a killer take aim with their right arm. And as we all know, my client hasn't had a working right arm in a number of weeks. And he hasn't worn his rental since this morning. So I meant what I said about that photo. I'm glad that it was recovered, because it just proved that my client couldn't possibly have committed this crime. Looks like Detective Race really is a novice gambler. Sunk cost has gotten its teeth in her now, clawing up her spine, whispering wounded pride in her ear. It's a cold steel, hot palms, kind of fever, the impotent, irrational fury of losing something you thought was guaranteed yours. But lucky for you, Detective, I'm well versed in shock therapy. You look dissatisfied, Detective Race. That's one word for it. Then allow me to put a nice bow on everything for you. In summary, my client's so-called confession was just a note to self. The police found him in shock reeling at the death of his girlfriend, and arrested him for being next to the gun he forensically couldn't have fired. After being confronted with these facts, you received photographic evidence of the exact moment of the shooting. And instead of utilizing said photo to track down the real killer, you tried to claim it depicted my client, a man without the requisite limb, standing in an architecturally impossible hallway. That's... Could have had a backup arm. He could have stolen one. Although stubbornness can be charming, this kind of desperation is ugly. It's getting late. Time to get my face up. That's the best you've got. Even a bare-bones prosthetic off the black market needs to be attuned to an individual's nervous system. How do you... You'd have to bring it to a clinic, which would have had to have a record of his shoulder OS. A record you won't find. And he'd still have to somehow have gotten rid of it before the police arrived. SOP at the scene of the violent crime calls for a full spectrum scanning of the entire building and 100 meters around it minimum. So where, Detective Race, did he manage to hide a cybernetic arm from your drones in the time between the shooting and his arrest? Well... Any objections? Detective? Show me your hand, Vlad. In light of the evidence, we have no reason to hold you. Now I gotta go call the DA and tell her I made a mistake. Not we made a mistake, huh? Listen, kid, you should know. Detective? Lost my train of thought. But hey, your attorney's a real tiger, and she just fought like hell for you. Make sure you think it properly. Public defense doesn't pay that well. Yeah. That's kind of you to say, Detective. But my work is its own reward. Sure. I feel exactly the same, Counselor. What happens now? I'll have to speak with the DA about the dismissal. And there's still some paperwork we'll need to go through. But basically, you're free to go. Congrats. You get to leave the casino with your kneecaps intact. Yay? But what am I supposed to do? The detectives will continue their investigation. Their investigation into Heartbreak, huh? Yes. When the authorities are satisfied with their examination of the body, she'll be handed over to the next of kin. And then you can make a funeral arrangements. That's not what Diane being gone is bad enough. But a serial killer? It's like she died of the flu. It doesn't happen anymore. People die of the flu all the time, but I know what you mean. I can't make sense of it. So what am I supposed to do? Hell if I know. There are some contacts I could give you. Services, professionals, doctors. No, you've done more than enough for me. When you got here, I was too tired to even defend myself, to try and convince them that I didn't. You saved me. Thank you. You're welcome, Carlos. But it's my job to. No, I mean, thank you for not asking. For not asking if I killed her. Oh, Carlos. I didn't need to ask. I knew you were innocent from the start. Of course he was. The blood's always different. Heart's always in the same place, easy to find, hard to miss. But the blood's always different. A flowering stain unfurling towards an invisible sun. A perfectly unique bloom, only one for each of us. A Rorschach test with singular, universal meaning. Vitality at its climax. Bursting forth into a red fractal consisting solely of an infinite. The end. But the comical thought of a body hitting the floor has its own kind of lowbrow appeal. Occupation: criminal defense attorney. The eyes. Finding ammo was almost enough of a hassle to outweigh the advantages. I could sell an untagged gun for a fair bit of cash. Cash can't buy you peace of mind. Oh, don't look so surprised, lady. Moving around in the dark in here must have only been able to see my silhouette. Did you think I was your boyfriend, back from an encore of that enthralling conversation? Can't ask her now. People aren't even familiar enough with the sound anymore to know the other way. To run the other way. Probably about south of Neighborhood. But I didn't see anything they could use even as a partial suppressor on the way in. Could they really not afford some throw pillows? Use the other 5 bullets in outdoor spaces. Small spheres supply an opportunity that the city's eyes couldn't think to pierce. Cramped places usually full of trash. This room, as shapes as it looks, is at least clean, organized even. So the corpse adds a certain satisfying contrast. Except there's shit on the floor. By the window, there are broken pieces of something fragile and tacky. It's fine. There's just one thing out of place. Actually, it's not fine. It's actually really irritating. I kick over the stupid goddamn mirror. 5 perfect crime scenes, each of them. Not a speck of evidence, nothing to go on. And for the final shot, there just has to be some pile of shit in the corner ruining everything. I kick the wall. Something falls from it, probably more tasteless bullshit. I toss over the chair, knock the urn. Tear into the sheets with my frustration and try to savor the shredding. If it can't be clean, I'll just have to lean into the messy mingle. At least it will be consistent. This is all so stupid. Honestly, I'm not the ego-driven type. In fact, I pride myself on my humility. Now, was it satisfying when the first 3 went down with a single shot? Yes. But so what? I'm not made of stone. After all, I did start to actively aim for the heart, but... Heartbreak killer? Really? Don't people have anything better to do with their time? What kind of miserable, lifeless voyeurs would obsess over something that's none of their business? All of the threads and breakdowns and the goddamn theory crafting. And all for the heartbreak killer. Sounds like a soap opera villain. From a season where the writers were on strike. I'd feel insulted by the label, but no. That's someone else's name. They came up with it. They spread it. They marketed it. Heartbreak's got nothing to do with me. He's just some reclusive, lonely, socially impotent loser who shot 6 people because... Well, I'm sure people will come up with something. That I got rejected one too many times or whatever. Me? I killed those people because I saw them and I wanted to. And I've killed a lot more than just 6. At least the room is thoroughly trashed now. If I had just walked away after seeing this mess by the window, it would have irritated me to no end. And now that doesn't match the ammo of the last 5 perfectly, it'll irritate the cops to no end instead. Good riddance, Heartbreak. You enjoyed your 15 minutes in the spotlight. Really savor it. I'm going home. The air's weighted tonight. Thick. Energized. A heavily foreshadowed summer rain I can feel in every hair. They call this kind of humidity oppressive, but I disagree. The warm tension of your skin, like in those short moments just after the shower turns off and the steam lingers. Yeah, it's always most comfortable right afterwards. Maybe there's no disagreement to be had. Oppressive things can be comforting too. Only the guilty ones run. I don't know about that, but I know I've never felt guilty about any of this. And I walk. That's okay, you can just initial in these spots. I took a scenic route home, courtesy of our fine city's sprawling public transportation, and got in a bit after 11 p.m. Had myself a thorough shower, drank a glass of milk, did some stretching, made sure my phone was on. Time went by evenly. Around 1:40 a.m., a posting for a public defender work came up. Decent rate, since it was so late and so urgent. I had wagered correctly that the boyfriend would have enough sense to ask for a lawyer, and enough debt that he'd need to be provided one. All I had to do was stay awake. There wasn't much competition after 1 in the morning. Okay, where else? Here and here. How did I phrase it earlier? Criminal defense attorneys aren't exactly flush with customers. Why wouldn't I take on a job where I already knew more than the cops? It would have been easy to convince Carlos to plead out. I would have gotten paid the same too. But easy is dangerous. Carlos was of course innocent, so his conviction would never be airtight. There would be doubts, questions, appeals, maybe even fans, depending on his looks. More attention on HK and his crimes, more headaches. A cold case rotting in the very far back of the public's awareness is always preferable to one open and shut in haste. Now, with no more murders matching HK's MO, there won't be any additional public pressure to find a culprit. Now heartbreak can just starve to death, out of sight and mind, like any other fluke in the system. Almost done. Getting involved with the cases this intimately does have its risks. Hell, I might have even overdone things here or there. Like letting out the smoke inside the interrogation room, just to make doubly sure that I didn't smell of gunpowder myself. That London fellow seemed more fixated on it than I would have liked. But obviously, everything turned out rosy. And it's worth it for the finality of it all. Seeing the authorities failing from the best seat in the house. That's just a bonus. I'm sure Diane is grateful too. Funny. I didn't even know her name. Something the matter? No, sorry, it's just... I was mad when I left the apartment. I know she was too. So when she died... Death was instantaneous, Carlos. I can't imagine that she was in any pain. In fact, I can guarantee she was dead before she hit the ground. No, I know, but I just keep thinking that she must have died angry at me. That she must have died hating me. To tell you the truth, Carlos, there's something I've been wondering about myself. What is it? Something I noticed in the ARC data that I didn't quite understand. A piece of the puzzle I couldn't fit in anywhere else. But maybe you can make sense of it. They do the exact same thing as One More Thing, like from the other Ace Attorney games. That's really nice. A piece of evidence that doesn't necessarily fit with a bunch of things, but if you do remember it later, then it can help at least give some people some closure. Where did you find that? That pill organizer was found on the victim. She had it grasped in her hand when she died. Obviously, the police added it to the ARCs, but it was quickly ruled irrelevant. Seems like it contained triprexazone? Prescribed to help modders with phantom itches. They're small tablets. And those are tricky clasps, too, for a pill organizer. Could be hard to handle with an unsteady hand. No one will ever know what she was feeling when she died. Even if they did, feelings are complicated. You can feel angry, happy, and sad at all the same time. All at the same time. But as far as facts are concerned, it would appear that when she died, what she was doing was setting out your medications for the week. To my eyes, anyway. Long night. That was too far just now. Practically rubbing it in his face. It's not like I care about his feelings. Not that I'll ever see him again. But overstepping like that is pure hubris. And hubris invites a downfall. So why did I even bother? It was the last piece of the puzzle, I suppose. I'll just need to show more restraint next time. Though there won't be a next time for heartbreak. The gun's in custody, there's no more bullets left. There won't be a seventh victim, there won't be any more leads to pursue. The media will move on to their next obsession. I'll move on to my next MO. And no one will ever... District Attorney Rockford. Not what I expected it. Well, it is 5 a.m. I can give you that much. By all means. Counselor Morgan. Morning, noon, or night, you're always so put together. Your eyes. Thank you. I don't get it. How do you sleep at night? Pardon? You do white noise, aromatherapy? Whatever you're doing, I need to steal it. God. I must have bags under my eyes dark enough for the dumpsters. Assistant District Attorney Emma Rockford. She's a prosecutor, a lawyer who argues for the state in court trying to prove a defender's guilt. And despite her sometimes unkempt appearance, she's probably the sharpest person to fill the position in decades. I should know, since I haven't beaten her once. Worse yet, she has this remarkable ability to compartmentalize all the adversarial energy and only bring it out in the courtroom. It's part of what makes her good at her job. And hard for me to read. Should I buy a new mattress? What they've got you doing at this ungodly hour, Emma? Actually, I'm here for you. Me. Your client was a suspect in the heartbreak killings. That's my case. Well then, you must have been relieved finding out that you won't have to go through a trial against me. You won't have to go to trial against me. No. Why would I have been worried about going up against you? So you're working with those detectives? Yeah, London and a new girl. Rays. They've been reporting to me in preparation for trial. Preparation for trial? That seems ambitious. I guess they gave you the rundown. They've been doing everything they can, but it's hard to catch a killer who leaves behind so little. It's hard to kill while leaving so little behind. So Reyes told you that they had the HK in custody and popped out of bed, all excited to run down here? Hardly. I haven't slept in 40... You need to sleep or you're gonna die. When I heard about a case with a single female victim shot through the heart, yeah, my ears perked up. That's about all. Huh? You're the house. Carlos Flat, a serial killer. The same serial killer that's outsmarted the state for weeks. She's not using his middle name. He was found with the murder weapon. But I can answer that any number of ways. Oh, I can't win this. How much do you know about this case? That may be true, but then I glanced at the report. You glanced at it? No gunpowder residue on him or his clothes. Right. Too remorseful, too apologetic in that note. Whatever it was about. This dominant armada. The documented sensitivity issue? No, he could have made a shot that clean. Not without getting closer to these scorch marks. Not to mention, he's too tall for the ballistic entry angles. He is tall, he's almost 190 centimeters. But I'm 175. She got all that from a glance? You're scary. Worst part is, she's not even being sarcastic. Yeah, of course it couldn't have been him. Long-term relationship, physically imposing, argumentative, so not the type to bottle things up. He didn't match the profile. Profile? Yeah, Right, sorry, you probably never heard of it. I know what a goddamn profile is. A profile is a reconstruction of a criminal's psychology based on evidence from their crimes. Kind of fallen out of fashion for the last few decades. Not much needed to guess about why when 99 times out of 100 the who is caught on camera. Or before they even leave the house. I've had to find some real fossils and oddballs to get advice on how to go about it. But I think I'm getting the hang of it. Well, at least this heartbreak maniac will slow down now that he's lost his weapon. He didn't lose it. He chose to leave it behind. That tells me he's confident he can do just fine without it. And it just makes me even more certain that these aren't his only kills. Were those other shootings with the same MO? No, not that I found. Other victims that fit the description? No. But I'm not overtly focused on the victim's appearance anyway. I mean, there's 6 victims. These 6 victims all look alike to each other, but they also don't look like a lot of people. But they also look like a lot of people. What did they specifically say the killer's MO was? They said brown hair. Hell, they kinda look like me. Do they? Sure. What, you don't see it? I hadn't thought about it. Point is, no one can kill that cleanly when it's their first time. Getting things that perfect takes practice. So I know that HK must have had a lot more than 6 occasions to practice, Morgan. And that's why I think heartbreak is a misnomer. You've got something catchier in mind? I just don't think shooting them in the heart has any particular significance. If anything, it's a testament to their accuracy and their cold-blooded efficiency. The best possible use of 6 untagged bullets. 6 kills guaranteed, no matter what kind of life support mods they were packing. The real signature isn't the bullets or the gun. It's the perfection. It's hard to wrap your head around. I'm saying that these 6 murders were just a fluke, a slip-up, a mistake. Exactly, a mistake. They got too clean, too efficient, and then they've got the public's attention. It's no wonder they're so pissed. Are you talking about the crime scene? Yeah, probably threw the detectives for a loop, right? Based on what you've said, I don't blame them. Whoever thrashed that room doesn't seem like the smooth operator you've been describing. On the contrary. I don't follow. That was the last bullet, their last shot. The other 5 were perfect. So if anything was out of place this time around, they must have thrown one hell of a temper tantrum. You make them sound like a child. Childish, and cowardly, and two-faced. Someone who hates to lose almost as much as they love to win. Your profile tell you all that? That? No. That part's just... takes one to know one. So this profiling, it's some kind of investigative technique. The theory is that a crime can tell you something about the nature of the person who committed it. Stabbing? Overkill? Points to passion, rage, lust. They probably knew their victim. Poison and guns, meanwhile, suggest they can't overpower their victims physically. And then there's the things you can assume about nearly all serial offenders. Childhood trauma, prior criminal record, few or no meaningful attachments. There's a lot of recurring themes in their stories. The detectives say HK doesn't leave evidence. So how much can his crimes possibly tell you? That he's diligent, almost perfect, highly intelligent, painstakingly organized, and with enough criminal connections to get his hands on an untagged firearm. It's rare to see her this animated outside the courtroom. It's almost like she's enjoying herself. A sheltered house cat who picks up the scent of a mouse for the first time. A lone wolf, educated, but all her playful, lethal instincts coming to life. Probably overqualified or undervalued. Though I'm not thrilled about the fact that in that metaphor I would be the... Know what I mean? Definitely. And considering the marksmanship, the detective said the HK would have needed insider information on optics. So does that mean heartbreaks in law enforcement? Never in 10 billion years. Oh. Antisocial, independent, despises authority. That'd be like a stallion applying for a job on a merry-go-round. They'd be kicking kids in the head after the first full rotation. Right. That's exactly how I put it. There must be some connection to the police, though. Some secondary or tertiary. These types can't help but insert themselves. Insert themselves? I don't do anything even resembling that. Wait, if HK's not a cop, how do they know about the blackout timing? Crime statistics analysis. Probably. Pardon? Take the emergency response times from across the city and map them out. Look for brief spikes and delays, chart out the dips and... No, she's completely honest. She's completely right. You don't need insider information if you just know what information to look for. Sorry. Technical, I know. But all the requisite data is publicly available. With a map, a spreadsheet, a calculator, anyone could reverse engineer the timing if they wanted to. That is such an unpleasant thought, Emma. So to summarize, you're looking for a cold-blooded, faceless, perfectionist killer who you think has no persistent MO or victim type. In a city with an 8-digit population? Well, good luck. I don't need luck. I only need more information. Well, I'm sure I'm sure the city would be happy to provide you with more resources. No, Morgan. I mean, I need more crime scenes. Oh. Sad truth is, if Heartbreak walked away today, I'd never catch them. The only way my net narrows it is if they keep piling up bodies. Not a very fair trade, is it? No, it isn't. But getting screwed over is a given. It's a deal with the devil. Fair enough. I need to get out more, or sleep more. Or sleep less, but harder. You think a higher thread count would help? Don't worry about it. I'm always happy to listen to you ramble. It's a lot more pleasant than having to face you in a courtroom. Sorry, but that's the adversarial process. So no hard feelings, yeah? No hard feelings. We're both just doing what we do. I could use a cup of coffee. How about you? Don't tempt me. If you fall asleep face first onto the table, I won't even take a picture. Just don't expect us to make a difference next time we're at each other's throats. Heartbreak won't claim any more victims. In 2 weeks, the media will have moved on to the next sensation. And the police will have moved on to the case they actually stand a chance of closing. It's what people do. But Emma is different. She'll set it aside and work a dozen other cases, never bringing it up. But a private corner of that frustratingly sharp mind of hers will continue to whittle away at it. Never finishing, but never quitting either. So I can't afford to take my eyes off of her. As long as that's the case, I may as well try to enjoy the view. Ugh. There's no need to look that upset over it. My face barely moved. It may as well have been a blatant pout from where I'm sitting. Yeah, like that. This friend of yours, they're trustworthy? Absolutely. In fact, I trust them more than anyone. Hey, come on. It'll be fun. Really? Really. Educational, too. I think you could stand to learn a lot from someone like Morgan. Ooh. You're the smartest person I know, Morgan, when it comes to people. There's always been nut jobs that find a company smart controversial. Lawyers don't usually show up at the crime scene this fast. I said it would be a pain in the ass. I never said I couldn't do it. The company's got us set for life, and probably afterwards too. rather die than play that kind of slough these machines compose. So that's not just a lawyer job thing. You dress like a doorman on the weekends, too. Compared to determining fault, determining cause of death is like a breath of fresh air. The company has every right to defend itself. These laws exist for good reason, you know. People like that just don't belong in this world. Father said you owed him. I don't do anything out of the goodness of my heart. When I take a job, I never half-ass it. An idle mind. A results page? Oh, so you can totally miss other ones. Total credit earned. Store menu. Phone charms and case colors? Concept art and bonus scenarios. What? Wait, this still goes? How does that hair work? I really... Wow! And putting this all in a demo? That's a really cute design. Different key arts. Heart fake killer. That's a really cute design. What do you mean by bonus scenarios? You know what? Oh, sweet, that's where that is. And it moves. Aww. The little chart. And you can change the phone case. That's really cool. Emma Rockford. 165, February 13th. Occupation, Assistant District Attorney. Likes coffee, toffee, hot couture. Dislikes sunburn, dead pixels, eye strain. Next, Benedict plays chess, shogi. Idle savant stars. Oh, you're a gacha player. Okay. gambler with the system must be to a lesser or greater extent insane. I like this. I like this a lot. But wow, so much for that plan of like going through other games. I thought this was gonna be a lot shorter. I thought this was gonna be a lot shorter, but then I got like really pulled into it. So instead, this immediately brings me to the bonuses menu. And I get different interviews with different characters. London, Reyes, Carlos, Morgan. I like this. This, wow, completely shocked me. And I only saw this like a couple hours before kind of starting stream. And I'm like, oh, I might as well try it anyway since I'm gonna do Next Fest. And then I got it, and then I played it for 3 hours. So, okay. Tomorrow I will tomorrow I will actually hold to that plan that I had at the start of this stream, which was play multiple demos instead of just one. But wow, I really like this game a lot. This really caught me by surprise. Yeah, I guess that's Of the Devil. Wow. I like it a lot. Wow. Sometimes things don't go according to plan, and I'm very happy that very happy to have kind of 3 hours that I will never get back, because that was a really good 3 hours. So yeah, thank you for spending time with me. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Tomorrow I will try to tomorrow I'll try to stream a little bit earlier so that I can, oh man, my coffee's all cold. Tomorrow I'll try to stream a little bit earlier so that I can get more actual demos through this. Because I don't know how long the Steam Next Fest demos tend to stay around. Some of them go away at the end of the week. Some of them stay for a little bit longer. This one might stay a little bit longer, but I only just saw it like today, so I wanted to play it. So yeah, ow. So yeah, that's the plan. Thank you for spending time with me. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and my only advice would be to, I don't know, go outside and touch grass. Enjoy yourself. Have a good day. Johnny!